One of the areas that can be challenging for companies is they throw resources at recruiting to say, like, just fill the rec, go ahead and hire diverse candidates. And I think what's really important when you are doing diversity recruiting, your company has the culture for it. They have employee resource groups. They have the support mechanisms, because candidates are going to be asking those questions. When you are thinking about recruitment in this time period, it's important to develop programs like your early career programs. What are the skills needed in terms of your organizational priorities and needs, and how are you going to fill the gap to either train that talent or have internal mobility within your company?
We are here with Miguel Alvarez, a talent manager at Coursera. Coursera is one of the largest online learning platforms with over 100 million registered users. Miguel has a passion for DEI recruiting and also has a background in higher education admin and marketing, which I think is an awesome combination for where he's working today. I'm thankful to have him on today. Miguel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Yes, Coursera is one of the leading online education platforms, and really our product. We envision a world where anyone, anywhere has the power to transform their life through learning. And as you mentioned, my background in higher education, I started my career in the University of California system, really focusing on academic preparation and student affairs, and then later transitioned working into education technology at Coursera and pivoting into the recruiting space.
Now, I'd love to jump into the topic of employer branding. There's been a lot of hype generated around this topic over the past couple of years, which I think can make it feel like kind of a buzzword, but I think it's important to clarify the heart of employer branding and what it really means for companies. So I would love if you could go into how you define employer branding. What is the importance of fostering a long-term strategy for this, and even how you measure its success?
Yeah, I think employer branding, the way you think about it in the marketplace, it's how do people resonate with that company? What are people saying about the company? You think about channels like LinkedIn or Blind or Fishbowl or even social media on Instagram and TikTok. How are people relating to that brand? Do they know who you are? And companies have to think about, what is the value proposition that you bring forward to the talent marketplace? What are you known for? Your benefits, employee engagement. What are your employees saying to other people out in the marketplace? And are they willing to refer your company? So I think it's a multitude of aspects of really sitting down and thinking about externally, what are people saying about us? How do they connect with our brand, our product? Do they want to work here? And then internally, do people at the company, are they going to be our biggest share of voice? Are they going to refer others to come and work for us? How are they talking about our company on their social media channels? And are they proud to work here? And what is that culture at the company? So really, that's a culmination of what goes into employer branding, and having that strategy is really important, because you'll see that in your conversion, right? In terms of the candidates that are coming to apply to your company, the universities that want to partner with you in terms of those type of partnerships, as well as diversity organizations that really see that you're doing something at the forefront around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and wanting to include you into their partnerships. And really fostering that long-term strategy is going to be beneficial, because you can measure it with, the high caliber of candidates that are applying to you, as well as in your recruitment funnel, how are people converting, and what are they saying about your company, and how proud are they to accept an offer for you versus another company that might be your competitor, or they're thinking about joining.
Now, you have expertise in DEI recruiting. I would love to get your perspective on what you believe is important for people to know when approaching diversity recruiting. What are some of the misconceptions? What do we need to be looking for? And maybe even what do companies need to know, whether that's different, what do we need to have, whether it's different mindset shifts or different programs?
I think diversity recruiting is it's a buzzword, right? I think a lot of people think about it as let's fill a role with someone, a candidate of color or a woman or, however that company is defining diversity. And I think one of the areas that can be challenging for companies is they throw resources at recruiting to say like, just fill the rec, go ahead and hire diverse candidates. And I think what's really important there is what have you done internally with your people team and the business to ensure that you are ready to foster and grow diverse talent. So it goes hand in hand. It's the acquisition component and the retention and promotion component. It's important that when you are doing diversity recruiting, your company has the culture for it. They have employee resource groups. They have the support mechanisms because candidates are going to be asking those questions. What does the leadership team look like? What is the percentage of a demographic at that company? What are you doing to partner with diverse organizations? And how are you going to ensure that I'm going to be successful at a company that is could be predominantly, non-Black, Latinx, or Asian Pacific Islander, or maybe women in tech. So it's important to really do that internal work and not think of it as we're looking on LinkedIn or using a diversity tool to identify talent because that comes off a little bit inauthentic. It also comes off very transactional in that like you're only recognizing me because I'm a candidate of color and I'm here to to fill maybe a diversity requirement to hire for your role. So it's important to really do that work. So, and it ties into employer branding, right? Like how are you fostering that talent and how are people talking about it? And are people happy? Are the candidates that are diverse, are they happy at your company? And do they have a good candidate experience throughout the recruitment cycle?
Miguel, I love so much that you just listed even the questions people should be asking internally, because I think there can be a gap in that sometimes too. What do we need to really be unpacking internally to make sure it's authentic when we really do go reach out to candidates? So I very much appreciate that framework. Now, we're in a time where recruiters and hiring managers need to think creatively about how they find, attract, and develop relationships with future talent. What are three unconventional recruitment methods that you have found to prove successful in the long term?
I think with the competition and also thinking about, this talent market has been crazy in terms of, the Great Resignation, and then you also have layoffs happening as well, and people are really thinking about, what do I want to do for work? What are my passions? And when you are thinking about recruitment in this time period, it's important to develop programs like your early career programs. That would be one strategic recruitment lever that you can use in your company. What are you doing to really foster that early talent, whether it's partnering with universities, whether you're developing apprentice programs, or you're partnering with, veterans groups or nonprofit organizations, diversity organizations around that specific talent pool, bringing them into your company and developing them into more senior roles. The way I think about that is you're going to get a return on investment on that talent. They're loyal to the company. You are opening up the door to a new sector or a new industry, and you're developing them to their homegrown talent. You're developing them for the needs of your business and organization. Therefore, retaining that employee longer in their life cycle. And so that's an important lever that I would say is really develop your emerging talent program. It's also a way to bring in a lot of diverse talent as well, and partnering with historically Black colleges and universities, tribal colleges and Hispanic serving institutions. as well as groups like, Women in Tech, Girls Who Code, Grace Hopper. Those are kind of ways that we really think about utilizing that for one of our strategies in our recruitment. Another is really investing in the top of funnel. Do you have a talent engagement team that is focused on talent marketing, employer branding, and really sharing what your company is doing, not only from your product perspective, but from an employer perspective? I think it's really important to have a recruitment marketing engine that ensures that people are in talent communities. They're engaging with your company, and there might not be a role today, but they know who you are. And when a role becomes available that matches their profile, they're going to want to apply because you've really developed a candidate nurture series at the top of funnel. So that's really important as well. I think a lot of people think like, let's just go ahead and do LinkedIn and go and source and pay for these leads or pay agencies. You really got to invest in a marketing engine at the top of funnel. And I think the third one is don't underestimate the talent you already have at your company to be the best referral engine for you. One, the cost of acquisition is a lot lower for referrals. How are you partnering with ERGs to help with diversity recruiting, to also find the talent that really fits with the culture of the company? I mean, who knows better than the employees you already have? They know what your product is. They know the culture. They can really be your biggest spokesperson and connect you to new talent communities that you might not have already been thinking about. So really sitting with them and strategizing with ERG leaders and diversity leaders in your company as a part of the recruiting process.
I think that response is a perfect segue into my next question and kind of a conversation you and I had to have before this. How do you develop and scale your talent, and what is the importance of having a plan for this?
Yeah, I think what's really important is that a lot of companies are seeing the value of workforce transformation and skill development. And I think that's where Coursera has been a partner to Fortune 500 companies and governments, as well as universities, around providing a platform for people to skill up. So it's going to be important to really map out the job families that you have at your company, the type of talent that you have. What are the skills needed in terms of your organizational priorities and needs? And how are you going to fill the gap to either train that talent or have internal mobility within your company? So I think about Coursera being a product that does do that. You're able to set content from world-leading universities and businesses like IBM or Google or Meta that have certifications on the platform, developing that talent by having that content and then really developing a learning program that ensures that they are, they're learning the skills that they need for your organization. And it's clearly laid out with a rubric of, here's what your role, where you are today in your role versus where you want to be, and really having those step back conversations with your talent and your employees, and developing through some type of learning platform and tool. We're able to measure and track progress, because I think that's where people feel like, well, what am I working towards? And is the company even tracking this to even get me to the next role or next level? And if they don't feel that they're moving the needle there, they're going to exit your organization. So that's where, it's, and it doesn't have to be Coursera. It could be LinkedIn Learning. It could be other tools, but are you providing employment opportunities and training opportunities for your talent?
And last question for you, Miguel. At Solvable, we're all about what drives purpose and meaning for people at work. So I'd love to know what drives purpose and meaning for you at Coursera.
Yeah, I think for me, so I'm the first in my family to graduate from college, and coming from a Latinx background, I think for me, what drives me is opening up opportunities for others. That's always been one of my major passions, is around access. When I started my career in higher education, it was around access to world-class education like UC Berkeley or UCLA. especially for minority groups and underrepresented populations. Moving into Coursera, it was how do you scale that with an education platform that partners with 200 universities and companies, and bringing that to over 90 million learners around the world. And then now in the recruiting space is how do I bring access and opportunity for people that are underrepresented, or who may not even know about this industry. Really, I didn't know that the tech industry was even a career. So really, it's around that. It's around access and opportunity, and giving people that ability to make a great salary in tech and to build generational wealth, whether that be through your company's IPO or stock program. But that's what really fuels me in developing these programs and strategies and talent, is how are we thinking forward and how are we opening the door for others?
Miguel, thank you so much for being on with us today. And thank you all for listening to Architects of Contemporary Hiring.
Thank you so much for having me.